There are days on the calendar we never treated as normal. February 2 was one of them. Before I gave my life to Jesus Christ, when I was deeply involved in Warlock practice, we didn't just watch people, we watched patterns, dates, cycles, colors, emotions, and February 2 was never random. It was a day we prepared for response, not action. Let me explain that carefully. On that day, we rarely needed to cast anything. We rarely needed to speak words or perform rituals, because most of the doors were already opening on their own. People didn't realize it, but their choices were doing the work for us. Especially one choice, the color they wore. In the occult, color is not fashion. It is frequency. It signals agreement. It communicates intention without words. And certain days amplify that signal more than others. February 2 was one of those amplifiers. I remember standing in rooms where nothing was spoken, no candles lit, no incantations whispered, just observation. And yet assignments locked in, influences attached, confusion entered lives quietly. Why? Because people unknowingly aligned themselves. This message is not superstition, it's exposure. If you've ever wondered why certain days feel spiritually off, why heaviness appears suddenly, why moods shift, or why confusion follows what seemed like a normal day, this may be the reason. Today, I'm exposing why February 2 is spiritually sensitive, how colors function as doors, and why one wrong alignment on that day can open access you never intended. Stay with me. Especially the middle of this message, because I will explain the color that caused the most damage without people ever realizing it. In the occult, February 2 represents transition energy. It sits between intention and execution, between planning and manifestation, between what was declared in January and what will mature later in the year. That makes it a sealing day, not because of magic, but because of human focus. People are emotionally reflective. They're evaluating their year. They're tired of resolutions. They're frustrated. And frustration creates openness. In witchcraft, openness is access. February 2 is not dangerous because of darkness. It is dangerous because of carelessness. Colors speak. In the occult, we were taught that colors broadcast internal alignment outward. They tell the spirit realm what someone agrees with emotionally and mentally at that moment. That doesn't mean every color is evil. It means timing matters. On spiritually sensitive days, colors amplify intention. They reinforce moods. They anchor decisions. You don't need to believe this for it to function. Just like gravity, spiritual law works regardless of opinion. Now listen carefully. The color that opened the most doors on February 2 was gray. Gray represents indecision, spiritual neutrality, emotional fog, half agreements. In Warlock practice, gray was called the invitation color, not because it invited demons directly, but because it weakened boundaries. People wearing gray on February too often experienced the mental confusion, delayed decisions, a sudden discouragement, the emotional heaviness, a loss of clarity. Grey doesn't look dangerous. That's why it works. Confusion is never loud. It's subtle. The second color we watched closely was dark brown. Brown, spiritually, represents burden, survival, and carrying weight. On February 2, wearing brown reinforced old cycles, especially financial and emotional ones. People who wore brown on that day often found themselves replaying past struggles instead of moving forward. In witchcraft, brown anchored people to what should have been released. Again, not because brown is evil, but because February 2 magnifies symbolism. Another dangerous color on that day was deep red. Red carries power, but uncontrolled power opens emotional doors. Anger, lust, impulse, reaction. On February 2, deep red amplified unresolved emotions. People became reactive. Arguments started easily. Old wounds reopened. We didn't cause those reactions. We simply observed them and noted who became vulnerable. Now, let me tell you the color that frustrated us the most. White. White doesn't represent innocence. It represents alignment, authority, separation. People who wore white on February 2 were harder to influence. Their emotions were stable. Their decisions were clearer. Their spiritual posture was firm. Assignments aimed at them stalled. Why? Because white signals clarity, and clarity shuts doors. Many people assume black is automatically dangerous. That's not true. Black represents authority and boundaries. On February 2, black worn intentionally, not emotionally, acted as protection. But black worn in grief, anger, or isolation amplified heaviness. Intent matters. Color without intention is neutral. Color with emotion is powerful. Most people never notice the connection between color, timing, and atmosphere because the effects are subtle. It's not dramatic, it's gradual. Confusion today, delay tomorrow, discouragement later. And people blame themselves, not alignment. Let me be clear, Christians are not meant to fear days or colors, but we are called to be wise. On February 20, they choose clarity, they choose peace, they choose intention. Wear colors that reflect authority, not emotion. Speak less carelessly. Pray briefly but intentionally. The enemy doesn't fear loud Christians. He fears aware ones. Here's the truth. Once you are aligned with Christ, no color has power over you. But ignorance still creates vulnerability. Awareness restores authority. When I surrendered to Jesus, February 2 lost its grip, not because the day changed, but because my alignment did. Christ outranks every system. If this message stirred something in you, don't panic. Awareness is not fear. Awareness is protection. February 2 does not control your destiny, but alignment determines influence. Choose clarity, choose peace, choose authority, and remember, no color, no date, no ritual outranks the name of Jesus Christ. If this message helped you, share it. Someone else may unknowingly be standing at an open door.